Today we'll be having Mr. Cedric Bunge from Germany. He is a calibration engineer and he will be sharing insights from Germany itself.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Cedric Bunge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me here.
How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
And I am also fine. How are things over there?
Currently the situation is, I would say, improving. So, for example, a lot of the lockdown measures have been either completely stopped or weakened. For example, in the last few weeks, a lot of schools have reopened, although not all classes are sent to school, and yeah. And
So how are you managing things over there?
yes, so since the beginning of March, I personally have been working from home, and a lot of people who can do it in their jobs, who don't necessarily need to be inside an office, are doing the same. Obviously, there are some jobs where you cannot work from home. For example, supermarket cashiers have been still had to work in the supermarket, but for most jobs where it is possible, people have been working from home. And okay, and um,
So can you just tell me how were the things before the lockdown, in the lockdown, and how are the things now over there?
well, before the lockdown, how to describe it? It has been almost like everywhere. But then, as the lockdown began, it was around at the beginning of March. So the first thing that came from, let's say, government side was that, at least in my state, the universities were closed. So, no classes in university were happening, and a lot of other measures came pretty fast. For example, a lot of shops had to temporarily close, and restaurants were only allowed to sell takeouts. And for sports club, they canceled the training, or the training sessions that they usually offered. For example, when we are already talking about sports clubs, for example, they have been slowly reopening, but with a lot of security measures regarding the number of people that are allowed to join a training session, and that everyone has to stay a bit further apart from each other, and it has to be written down who was at which training session. So in case somebody is showing gets diagnosed with COVID-19, that the people that we can follow up who else could be infected. Yes.
Okay. So one of our viewers has a question,
Sure.
and he says, ask him how Germans are surviving without bars.
The public transport is actually still up in Germany. This was one of the early measures, at least in my state, because this is another thing. A lot of the measures differ from state to state, and one of the first measures was that you are only allowed to enter a bus on the rear door, not on the front door anymore, and you are not allowed to talk to the driver at all, so that the drivers stay safe and that the drivers don't that the drivers can't infect other people in case they have COVID-19. Yeah, and since
bar, B-A-R, bar.
A bar. Oh my God, I understood bus. That was my fault.
Never mind.
For me personally, I am not too much of a bar person, so I'm not sure how it is for the people who like to go to bars, but yeah, it's a very good question. Since I am not too much into bars, I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. So, what worse has happened in Germany?
What worse? So you mean in what the current numbers are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I checked them this morning. So we had been a bit less. We had have a bit less than 180,000 cases of COVID-19 in total, and currently it's around 600 to 650 cases per day. New cases, obviously, and we had around 8,000 deaths and around 40 deaths per day. So we have definitely been affected by it, and but I have the feeling that the early measures that were taken have been very effective.
Okay. What steps have been taken?
So, for example, schools have been closed for a while. You are also not allowed to. Sorry, I have to restart the sentence.
That's fine. That's fine.
Again, initially many shops were closed, although they have a lot of them could reopen at the beginning of this month. And inside of supermarkets, for example, they put in markings on the ground so that when you are walking towards the cashier, you are not allowed to come closer to anyone than 1.5 meters. And
Okay.
since the beginning, no, since actually end of April, we were supposed to wear masks in the supermarket, and I think that has been helpful to keep the number of new infections low. And,
Okay. So, is there any downfall in the economy in Germany?
Definitely.
What's the position like?
Can you repeat the question?
What's the position like of the economy? Has the COVID affected the economy much?
It has definitely been affecting the economy quite negatively. A lot of companies have been requesting a specific thing that exists in Germany. It's called Kurzarbeit, where the company can decide to not send people to work for a certain day, and for these days the government is paying a part of the salary, not the full salary, and companies have been doing that, and there might even come more impacts, but these are those that have been here so far, and it's also very hard for small businesses because they had to first of all they had to close, for example, the small shops for a while, and obviously people are not as spending as much as usually. Yeah.
So there are many things which the government has done.
Definitely.
So are the people supporting the government or they're revolting, or what's the scenario like with that thing?
I would say most people are complying with the measures that have been taken, and many people have been supporting it, but we also had a very loud minority that has been not as happy about these measures, which I personally dislike, because these measures are there for a reason, but that's just how it is.
So Germany is the homeland to homeopathy.
Yes, so as far as I know.
Are they treating COVID-19 patients with homeopath medicines or something like that?
Not that I would be aware of it. The connection was bad for a moment. Can you repeat the question?
The way they are doing in Iran, they're using homeopath medicines, they're trying things with that. So Germany is the land for homeopathy. Is there any progress in that?
Not that I have heard of it. Maybe there is, but I
Okay.
haven't heard.
Okay, okay. So, what are you doing these days?
Well, obviously, I have been. I had far less contact with my friends and my family. And when I did, it was often, for example, via live chats or via Skype, for example. Um, there is no. It's not prohibited to to visit friends and family, but a lot of people are doing it less. At least those friends and families that don't live in the same house. And so for that reason, and for example, sports have been cancelled, and for that reason, a lot of people, just like me, have been resorting to watching movies, watching series, playing video games, things, things that you can do at home and alone.
Are you getting groceries and medicines easily over there?
This is still working very, very well.
So,
Uh,
which
Initially,
shops are
during
still closed?
the shops are not the supermarkets are not closed, and also the drugstores are also not closed. So it's still possible to get the medicine and the food. Um, People try to do it with less trips. So instead of going grocery
So, do you
shopping every,
need any passes or something like that to move out?
no, we don't.
You can move
There
out.
were restrictions as to how many people are allowed to stay outside in a group. Uh, Initially, it was just you and people who live in the same household plus one other person. Now I think it's up to people from 5 different households that could
Okay.
stay outside. I
So,
think
are there any police or military force at every station to control everything, to enforce there's no riots or people are complying to everything?
people are. I would say people are mostly compliant. There have also been, for example, some demonstrations that have way too many people, and but mostly the police is not needed to resolve these things.
So, people are willingly complying to the rules of lockdown given by the government.
Most people, yes.
Most people. That's great. That's great. So, what's your schedule like in the lockdown period?
Um, it is not all that much different from usually. I try, for example, to stick to a similar schedule as I had before I was working only from home. So, for example, I take a very short walk in the morning, which is basically like walking to work, just to keep my usual schedule. But apart from that, not all that much has changed, except for obviously a lot of things that were cancelled, like sport.
Okay. So, has it changed your eating habits or something like that?
I think not. I tried to cook more often by myself, but apart from that, I don't think that much has changed.
Okay. And another thing which I really wanted to ask you was what, as it is said, the COVID-19 has come from the China. So, what's the opinion of Germans on Chinese?
Mm, I'm I'm not sure. I haven't been discussing that topic with many people so far. Um, but I think for many people it hasn't changed all that much.
Okay. And do you get Chinese goods products easily over there, or Chinese products have been banned?
I don't think there has been any ban on Chinese products.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in India, people have been forming an opinion about boycotting the Chinese products and to use Indian made products only. That is the reason I've asked this question.
I see.
Another thing which I wanted to ask you was, other than groceries, medicine, medical shops, what else are open? Supermarkets and what else? Can you just go out and shop for, as in your clothes and all?
Um, it's possible again. Initially, it was basically just supermarkets and grocery stores and medicine stores that were allowed to remain open, and obviously restaurants. But there you could only take takeout, so no sitting inside. Now it has been a lot of measures have been dropped. So, for example, you can now sit inside restaurants, although there are some restrictions as to how far the people have to sit from each other.
Okay.
And in most shops, you have to wear masks.
Okay.
But apart from that, we are trying to get back to normal business. Yeah.
That's great. So
Let's see
are there
how well it works. I don't know.
okay. Are there any hobbies which you've discovered about yourself in this period?
Mm, not really, actually. Yeah, most of the things I'm doing now are the same that I have been doing previously. I have been
Okay.
discovering a love for horror movies. I've been
Okay.
watching some, but apart from that,
Can you
um,
recommend some of them to our viewers?
so the last one I saw and I really liked was a Korean movie called R minus point. It was very nice. I think it's from the year 2000. I'd have to check.
Okay, no problem at all. So, which is your favorite dish which you've tried in this lockdown period on your own? And you thought that this was amazing, which you've cooked.
Yeah, let me think about it.
Okay.
I made a very good chili sin carne,
Okay.
which was very nice, but I made too much, so I had for like 2 or 3 days.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So you have been to Indore
Yes,
as a part of your school program,
exactly. In
and
2013.
pardon?
In 2013, it was.
Yes, it's been time, but you've been to Indore, and Indore is a hot spot for COVID-19 in India.
I've heard.
What are your opinions in this?
It must be a very difficult time for everyone living in Indore. I had the luck that the region I live in has not been affected as hard. So yeah, I just think it must be very, very hard for everyone in Indore.
That's right. That's right. It is difficult for everybody.
I can imagine, yes.
There are many Indian friends who just say, "How are you, Cedric?" And it's been long, we've not met, and they're just waving at you.
Can you say the last sentence again? I didn't understand it.
They're just waving at you.
Ah, hey. Hey, how are you?
So, is there any message that you want to give to everybody?
So there is the obvious message that a lot of doctors have already told, for example, try to stay home as much as possible and try to wear a mask. And if you wear it properly. So I'm not sure if I really need to repeat that message. But one message that I personally want to give is that is that you should acknowledge that this is a hard time. It's okay to not be okay during a global pandemic, and whatever you need to do to well, stay happy or even stay sane, do it. Reach out to friends and to your family, or yeah. The most important part is getting through this, and everything else comes second.
True. Thank you so much for giving your insights about
No
Germany
problem.
and what's the situation over there. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. The video will be uploaded on Facebook and YouTube channel as well. The
Okay,
link will be given.
sure.
So that's it. Take care of yourself, and we miss
You
you a lot.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.